So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Karl Agell.
Agell, yeah.
Yes, yes, we practiced before his last name, but my last name is really hard too. It's Calzada and with an A. So if you change the A to an O, it means like shoe. So sometimes people call me Hector Shoe, and I'm like, no, it's not shoe.
It's not shoe, but hey, yeah, we all need shoes, but that's not me.
Yeah, when you have like last names that are hard, so I like to pronounce it well. So Karl sings in the band Legions of Doom, which is kind of a new band because it's a band that is formed after the passing of Eric Wagner. They had the band, the Skull, and now some of the remaining people from that band started this band, and the debut album, which is coming out September 13, is called The Skull Free. So this is actually a band that it's a cool story that we'll talk about soon. And Karl, you were in Corrosion of Conformity. What did you do in Corrosion, man?
I was the same thing, just a lowly singer,
Nice.
Yeah, I auditioned for the band back in 1989. I had been a fan of the band and seen them. I'm an old guy, I've been around, so I'd seen them in 1984. My band up in Connecticut in the hardcore punk scene had opened up for them in 1985 during the Animosity tour when they were a three-piece. And then I saw them on lots of other shows in the New York City area over and over again in Connecticut and New Jersey and all around. And then I saw that they put on an ad back in the newspaper, back in the old days when they had newspapers.
Back in the 90s, yeah.
Yeah. And they had before the interweb,
yes.
So there was an ad in the Village Voice looking for a singer. It said a cross between Ian Gillan, HR, and James Hetfield or something like that. I was like,
that's an interesting combination.
Yeah, because they were kind of just figuring out all the shit they were into. And I that really piqued my attention. I said, holy shit. And I checked in with mutual friends, and it was a real ad, and I answered it, and then joined the band in May of 89 and was with the band for 4 years, did the Blind album, and things didn't work out during the making of Deliverance, so we parted company. That's the nice way of saying it. And then shit happens, man. It's rock and roll. So then I formed a new band called Leadfoot after that with the bassist who left the band to join me, and did about 3 records, first signing with Roadrunner and then various deals, And we got
Roadrunner kind of like disappeared. Like,
what's that?
Roadrunner Records, that's a name that I don't hear anymore.
No, yeah, I think I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I know the people that used to work for them work for other labels now. So
yeah, I remember there was a time in metal that Roadrunner was like
it was the
metal, but you still have the metal blades, but there's there's a lot of like new ones that come out.
You remember Combat also?
I think I remember that, but I do remember Roadrunner because Slipknot was with them, and it was like they had like this compilation back in the 2000 that was like Roadrunner United, which was a great album. It had like a lot of the people who were in different bands, and they did all songs, because that's something that back in that time when streaming wasn't still a big thing, people got excited for compilation albums.
Oh, of course, man. Everything was in the art of the album cover, and hopefully there were lyrics inside of it, and it was a way of connecting that maybe we're coming back to a little bit, but now we know almost too much about everybody, So there wasn't a lot of mystery, not a lot of mystery now,
No, sometimes I think like there's bands that post too much. Like, I don't need to know what you had to for lunch before you recorded the song.
No, it's a strange time, man.
It's a strange time. For example, I'm super fan of the Smashing Pumpkins, and their last albums, they were just putting out too much. And like recently, they put out a new album that they just said 2 weeks in advance. In 2 weeks, we have a new album. No promo, no single. And you know what? I think it was best. like because you
Weird-
listen to it
Yeah,
fresh.
weird side note, Billy Corgan was the biggest fan of the Blind album of COC you've ever met. In fact, where we went to record Deliverance, which I was there for 5 weeks and then things went wrong, but it was Butch Vig and Billy Corgan. They invited us down to Triclops in Vinings, Georgia during the making of one of their big records. You know, it was a
Was
Siamese
it Siamese Dream?
Yeah. So we came down and we're invited in the studio to check them out. And they're like, Billy was like, dude, you guys should record here. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. So it was cool. He was always a big fan of the band and really supportive. You know, I haven't talked to that guy in probably 30 years, but you know, anyways.
Yeah.
So that's my little side note there. But
So yeah. So Billy, if you watch this, come on, you can talk to Carl and you can
yeah, man, lead
you can talk to me.
We'll open up the tour for you guys.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. So so obviously you've been in the music business for over 30 years, countless bands, and
yeah.
now you're with Legions of Doom.
Yep.
So this band obviously formed out of like obviously there was tragedy with their singer Eric Wagner sadly passing away. I remember that a few years ago. So this basically would have been like their third record, but I was reading the promo. So you guys, what you did is like the band went to Eric Wagner's family and asked for his laptop because he had lyrics. So that's interesting. I want to know like who from the band went and who had that idea to do that? Because yeah,
well, that was Ron Holzner, who is the core of the band. He's the guy that was in trouble with Eric Wagner for many albums, and a friend of mine that my brother from another mother, as they say, truly. We were instant friends. We met literally 30 plus years ago and just hit it off instantly. And it's Ron that was reaching out to the family and getting permission to get additional what lyrics he had and to back those up and get the notebooks and to be able to see what Eric had. They'd been working on the third album. But Eric wasn't living in Chicago. He was living in a couple different places across the U.S. And so it was a bit of a reach just to kind of find where things were left and pick up the pieces. And luckily, everybody was super supportive and said, "Of course, we grant you permission. You know, this is an act of love. And he got the full endorsement from the surviving, from his family." And said, "Of course, we want you to do this." So when I was asked to sing, it became possible because oddly enough, the band I'm in, my local band in North Carolina called Lie Heavy, that I still have, and we're signed to Heavy Psych Sounds.
What's the name of the band?
Lie Heavy, this one.
Lie Heavy.
Yeah. So we're signed to Heavy.
I thought you said Lie Miami. I'm like, what?
Lie Heavy, yeah, Lie Miami, no, Lie Heavy. So, excuse me, Ron, I'm not trying to plug my other thing, but there's a reason I'm mentioning this, is our first show was of that band was to be opening for the Obsessed and the Skull exactly 3 years ago. And the Skull didn't show up and the Obsessed did. And we're like, okay, what's going on? And we found out that the Skull was stuck in Texas with several members having COVID. And then what the next thing happened is we heard that Eric Wagner had succumbed to COVID and it had literally taken his life. And I was absolutely heartbroken. I'm good friends with Ron and a big fan of the Skull and everything he's ever done. And that was it. I thought they were gone. And about 9 months later, Ron reached out to me and asked me if he said, I don't know if I want to keep going, but I think I should do a tribute show to Eric and put some closure on this. And I said, he asked, would you do it? I said, I was tearing up. Holy my God, I'd be honored. I was slightly blown away. Like I keep saying, it was to fill the shoes of these giant, canoe-sized boots of Eric Wagner. I felt like I wasn't worthy, but I was like blown away, and I said yes. And
you had your Wayne's World moment.
Yeah, you know, and I was like, okay, we'll do it. And we did the show in Chicago, and it went really, really well in front of his family, his kids, his ex-wife, his girlfriend, and all the old hardcore fans that have been supporting the band for years. And they were very inviting and warm. And they said, look, this is cool. This is meant to be. It's not an exploitative thing. It's a positive thing. It's a good vibe. And they said, hey, let's do another show. And then we ended up going to Europe 6 months after that or so. And, you know, I always quote the guy in Germany, as the Germans always tell you they have no filter, they say, they go for the throat if they don't like something. I know some Germans, they'll tell you with no filter exactly how they feel. And we
Oh
went
yeah,
over
I've interviewed a few German bands.
yeah, I love it because they're so direct, right? And
Sometimes I don't know if they're mad.
no, they're German. They can't help it.
So I don't know. Yeah, it
I kid the
depends.
Germans. I love the Germans. But
Yeah.
so I was over there and I thought, they're gonna be like, fuck you, you're not Eric, or something like that, or this is not the same. And I tell you what, they were I was so worried for nothing. They were the warmest, most inviting, the best tour. I was out there singing Skull lyrics, singing Eric's words and melodies, doing my interpretation. I'm not him, just bringing it my best.
Yeah, you're doing your spin on somebody else's lyrics.
And I was, of course, scared shitless. And everybody was so warm and so kind. And I remember at the Hammer of Doom festival at the end, we were opening up for Candlemass. It was the 9th show
Wow,
over there.
nice.
It was a fantastic show, and we had Scott Reagers from Saint Vitus, who's now part of Legions of Doom. And it was his first thing coming over there, and we did this thing, and we ended up singing the Tempter with Jonas from Candlemass joining me and Reagers, and like doing the Trouble song. And I remember going into the audience and having this old German metalheads come up to me and said, "Eric is smiling," It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. It summed it up. It was, people are kind and were giving me hugs and said, this is fantastic. Keep it going. Don't give up. So with that joy in my heart, as silly and cheesy as that sounds, I said, let's keep doing this. Why not? And we all felt that we were all raised up by this experience and said, let's keep going. And so that's what's led us to this moment of where we've, along the way, put this stuff together with Eric's words, and he lives on, through these.
Yeah,
And,
and you named
great.
the band Legions of Doom. So I read there's part of lyrics from him, but did you also add some lyrics to some of the songs?
No, I didn't, because there were so many great words that he had written that we kept it quite pure. I mean, we had to do some adjustments, obviously, to make things that he had written, not knowing exactly which songs they were for. We made them work, and it was, I tried in my best way, especially in Scott Reagers too. We were true to the words, and Ron worked on it really hard too. Obviously Ron helped out as well, and we just made some slight adjustments, but nothing changed. No meanings changed. It was more or less like, do we put the here, or the, or the,
Okay.
it wasn't like a departure from any of the original vibes. So it was just cool, and it was amazing to be able to take his words and then figure out my own vocal melodies over the riffs, and that's where the challenge was and the fun was. So that made it also my interpretation as well.
Yeah, and I think that the first single is very fitting, that you chose all good things, because it's like all good things comes to those who wait. So it's a very catchy number.
Yeah.
And the lyrics, I think, it makes sense for a first single. Was that always like a conscious choice for the band that would be the lead single that you put out?
I think it just happened because it had to happen. Those were the words that led the way, that primed the pump. I mean, how it was undeniable, you got to carry on, and that it was his words transcendent, from beyond the grave, saying, hey guys, it's okay. Let's keep going, It sounds so silly and so like pseudo spiritual, but really I feel it was just such a good vibe, and those words led the way. And I thought there was just, we all thought that this is the most obvious choice, you know?
Yeah, and it's got, it's a great stoner doom uh type of track. You because you have like it's more like because the type of doom that you guys play is more like faster doom. Because that's like that doom metal that's like more slow. You guys are a little bit faster
Well,
in
I think we're doom metal, right? So that Ron and I
doom
joked
metal,
about.
yes, because
No.
yeah,
We still have the heavy metal. We still have the.
yeah, there's so many like subgenres now, like doom something, doom the other thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Hey, to me, it's just like either you kick ass, or you don't. And I know when I see you or I hear you, like either I plug into it and get it. Like any music, I really do listen to anything and everything. If it's got heart and soul and people are bringing it, it doesn't have to be perfection. Just has to have a lot of passion. And that's how I judge things. Is it moving me in the moment? And there's a lot of great bands out there, but for us, we're old dudes that came up with in the hard rock and heavy metal scene, and I came even out of the old punk and hardcore scene, and it's a big mishmash of that, and we were raised on Deep Purple and Judas Priest and Thin Lizzy and Motorhead, and these are things
Actually,
that we can't deny.
yeah, on the B side of the All Good Things, you do a deep cover purple, uh,
Yes,
a deep purple cover. Sorry,
yes, yeah,
sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah. So that's
Yeah, and
nice.
that
Yeah,
actually,
did you listen to the new Deep Purple album that came out like a month
I
ago?
have not, and I love Deep Purple so much, but I've been really nervous about it. Are you recommending it or kind of no? And look,
I
you got
thought
to
it was,
at least look at where they are. They're much older. They've been around
yeah, no,
forever.
at this point, you can expect them to put out like their classic albums. It's not a bad album, but I thought it was a little bit too long, and some songs sounded like similar. And I think Ian Gillian's voice is not as great as it used to be. But
Well,
yeah,
I feel like, okay, that guy is one of my the most inspirational lead vocalist of all time for me. Like he's just blew my mind as a little kid, hearing
yeah.
him. First hearing him as a kid, I've mentioned this in other interviews. I heard him on my parents had the German pressing of Jesus Christ Superstar on Polygram or whatever, the double vinyl. And I'm
Mhm.
a little kid putting this stuff on the turntable, and it's Ian Gillan singing the part of Jesus Christ, and like this was kind of other, worldly kind of thing when you're a little kid, like, who is this, And it's such passion, his just range, and obviously that drew me into Deep Purple when I got older, and I was like, whatever he's done and doing now, the guy has nothing to prove. He
No,
is,
no, no.
no, he's the GOAT, like he's the greatest of all time in a lot of ways. And, maybe he's not hitting it on all cylinders now, but it's okay,
There's it's impressive that they're still around, and but no, you should check out the album. It's got some energy to it. But I think I like album number 20 something or something. No,
Yeah.
it's not no, but it's they have a lot of albums. So
Well, I
yeah,
tell you
it's
what,
mhm.
I'm getting on a plane to Texas tomorrow to rehearse with the guys, We all fly into the
Listen
Henry
to it on the
Vasquez
plane.
space. So that'll be my airplane album. I'll do,
Download it so you can
yeah,
listen to it on the plane.
yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And then you can write to me and you can give me. I did a review for that one, but not on my channel. I did it on this guy from Canada called Nick Sino, and
Right.
he asked me like, "Hey, let's review on my channel." I'm like, good, because if we say something bad, it's on you.
Right.
Like, it's not on me because it's on my channel.
I'll message you, man. I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Sure.
but yeah, no, I think it's good that the good thing about the bands, like the bands that are older, is that they do not need a laptop to play live, which
No. Oh
is
my.
I find it like, why would you need like it's so sad that you need a
I'm,
laptop in
I,
order to play.
it's a generational shift. It's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. my grandparents were born in the 1890s, literally. I'm not even kidding. All of them. We have long generations in Sweden, where we all come from, or my family comes from. And I sometimes feel like I have more in common with the people born 2 centuries ago, or literally family members, than some of the people I meet in this, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. We're just at a point where things are accelerating, and it's generational, and it's not right or wrong, it just is. And who am I to judge? I don't, I sound like the old guy on my lawn, get off my grass, but I don't want to be that guy. I always want to have an open heart, open mind to anything people are doing. And that's what I think is cool about this record. I think it's, good music is transcendent. And so it doesn't matter, so if you're on it, you're on it. And I think this is going to speak to.
No, the album, there's a very poignant song called Heaven, where actually it has Eric Wagner's vocals on it.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, was that like a song that like a demo they had? How did that go about?
Eric had had some other projects going, and he had, my understanding is that he had demoed that song, and he played acoustic guitar. Ron said he didn't play too well, but he was singing his own stuff and playing acoustic in the background. And that was
it's more of like a ballad type of song.
Yeah, and the song using modern technology. So now we're bowing to modern technology all of a sudden. Yeah. Speaking of laptops, and the guys used a program to remove his background guitar, and then Lothar Keller, our guitar player, the original Skull guitar player, was in the band. He wrote music around his vocals, and they developed the song underneath an existing vocal and removed the guitar to it and built a song around it, which is really cool.
Yeah, they also, the Beatles did that with, I think last year that the Beatles put out the last recording of John Lennon, and they did that with like technology, which was like, wow. So there's good things about technology, but bad things, but that you can do that, it's great. And plus we have to do, the rockers have to do that, because I don't know if you remember, but remember Tupac Shakur?
Of course.
He died, but apparently he put out like records like 5 years. And I remember like, what is it, the dude dead? Why does he, how many songs did he wrote? It was like, I don't know, have you ever watched when Chappelle Show?
Oh my God.
Chappelle Show had remember the skit that he did? Like he was at a club and they're like, oh, we're playing the new Tupac. And all of a sudden the song, he was saying like stuff that was happening at that very moment. So it was like saying like Tupac wasn't really there. I thought it was hilarious.
Man, it's hard. Those shows, that's some kind of other next level genius, man. That's some of my favorite shit ever. So yeah.
So it's a good thing that you had that, and that's good. What I'm against is like when I read a few months ago that they wanted to do like a concert with a hologram of Ronnie James Dio, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm against the hologram stuff.
Maybe ABBA, maybe, but they're still alive.
ABBA, I read that ABBA is doing, but it's all like avatar projection. I'm like, why do I want to pay money to see like fake stuff? I'd rather see people playing guitars, even making mistakes or whatever, just being live.
But it's the same thing. Why do you want to watch TikTok video reels for 12 hours? You know what I mean? Like, it's just that. No, I'm just saying in here, maybe I sound like an old asshole, but it's just like, or, the whole thing of kids watching kids play video games on YouTube. It's like.
Yeah, I don't understand those channels, because at least what I do, it makes sense because I'm talking music, I'm giving you my thoughts, I'm interviewing people. But those video like channels, like you're watching someone play like a video game.
I guess it's like watching sports or something. I don't know. So
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know either.
It's not my thing, but
not my thing.
But through the magic of AI, you were able to put out that song, and it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's like a tribute. First I heard the song Heaven, and I thought like maybe it's a Bryan Adams cover.
That's awesome.
But no,
I got a story about Bryan Adams, actually.
tell me about the
I
Bryan
know,
story.
I'm sorry if I'm wearing you out. You can edit this out, but when I was
No, I don't care.
when I was in COC in 1990, we got booked 2 shows in Mexico City. This is before Blind even came out, so I was still doing the Animosity and the old stuff, Technocracy and Eye for an Eye, and we flew down to Mexico City. It was a Friday, with our road cases and stuff. And we're standing in the airport, kind of getting our shit together, and this little guy walks up to me. I was looking at him, I was like, he looks familiar, and he goes, "Hey guys, you're in a band, right?" And I was like, yeah, and he's like, "I'm Bryan Adams. I'm playing a show tonight at the Enormo Dome, some arena, like." I'm like, "Holy shit, you're Bryan Adams." And he was like the nicest guy in the world. And he's like, "Hey."
Bryan Adams has some of the best love songs ever. Like love songs now suck. Like if you think of like Please Forgive Me, that's a great song.
No,
he wrote great songs.
He was great, man. It was great. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'll put you guys on the guest list for my show at this stadium tonight." And I'm like, "What? Really? What? Okay." And he didn't bullshit us. We actually, Reed Mullen, the drummer of COC, and myself, and to the crew guys that worked with us, the rest of the guys were like staying in the hotel. We're not going to that. But we went to that and showed up, and it was insane. It was like Mexico City, like it's this giant megalopolis surrounded by poverty. And the more you drive into the middle of it, it more resembles like Paris or something, like Gucci and Cartier, and there's so much money in the middle of it. That's how I remember it. And we pull up to something that looks like the Parthenon in Greece, this nightclub after the show, we're invited to this after party we went to. And there's these guys in tuxedos with shotguns and crowds trying to get in. And they saw our all access pass shows from seeing them play earlier.
You showed them the backstage pass.
No, they just saw it. We were the gringos, obviously, the honkies. And they're like, "Come here, VIP." They dragged us up, through this giant crowd. And I remember they signed me and our tour manager, personal waiter, behind the ropes and shit. It was just insane, And I could go on. This is a long story. Are you sure you want to hear this?
Sure. Did you end up playing basketball with Bryan Adams?
What? No, almost. No, so we end up we're there back there, and we're drinking with the crew and all these people in this roped off section, and then we're like, "Okay, let's wander around this thing." It's like this nightclub disco it's like mind-blowing amount of money in it. And Bruce, our tour manager, who used to also play in the Georgia Satellites, if you ever heard of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we in a bunch of different bands. The Swingin' Richards, he's from Atlanta. He used to be a VJ called The Butcher and had a cable access show where he did.
That's a nice name for a VJ.
Yeah, he was a VJ. We did this is back in the day. Anyways, so we're hanging out, walking around, and we have this guy following us around, bringing us drinks. And all of a sudden, we're standing there, and this guy walks up to us, dressed immaculately, with an entourage behind him. And he comes up and goes, "I am the son of the president of Mexico." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "You guys were fantastic tonight." And I was like, I looked at Bruce. I was like, "We didn't play."
He thought you were in the Bryan.
Yeah. We're like, "Thanks, man." We're like, I'm not kidding. We're like, "Thanks, man." And he's like, "Listen, I want to buy you a drink. Let's drink together, I was like, "Okay, yes." And he basically snaps his fingers, and he was surrounded by bodyguards, and they bring out the most expensive tequila known to man, some kind of aged tequila, shit. I'd only to that point in my life had Cuervo Gold garbage, and they bring out this bottle that looked like a halo over it. It was like, oh, and they bring it out, and we're drinking this stuff. We're like, "Oh my God," and hanging out, and he's telling a story. He's like, yeah. And then I was like, "Excuse me, I gotta go use the bathroom." And he's like, looked at his bodyguard, sent his bodyguard pushing the crowd out of our way and literally pulling guys mid-piss off the urinals like saying VIP numero uno. I'm like, no, I can wait. You know, like it
It's
was
like
so
it's like
absurd.
they played. If you ever love a woman, you need to let him pass.
I know.
I'm doing my best, like Mexican accent.
Hey, listen, feel free to edit this out because I'm going on a tangent, but it was so funny, man. It was just so bizarre. And then this is 1990 or yeah, no, 91. And I'm like, okay, you know, we end up on the dance floor with these, you know, this rich, beautiful people dancing, and all of a sudden Enter Sandman comes on by Metallica. It just been released. Everyone's like dancing to Enter Sandman like it's a, you know, like a disco, you know, dance song, and it was just insane. And anyways, so that was my night with Bryan Adams. I remember ending up back in the VIP section, and he was face down on the table and blacked out. It was pretty cool. So.
That's a great story that you met Bryan Adams, and then
And he was the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, great song. So yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, that's I'm keeping this. Like this is the stories that I like to hear, and people will be like it. So, so the artwork of the album for Legions of Doom, I'm gonna show the artwork because yeah, it's a pretty cool artwork, and we'll talk about the artwork a little bit. So here we have the artwork, Legions of Doom, the skull free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this artwork and who did it and everything.
Oh my God. You're gonna laugh. I'm drawing a blank. I know his name.
Don't worry, man. It's in the notes somewhere, but it's pretty cool.
I need my clip note. No, Ron's gonna kill me. So I should look it up right now. But he's a famous artist that has done work for like High on Fire and Sleep and all these really well-known bands. And obviously you could see how fantastic he is. And Ron had gone, the story is that Ron had seen some of his stuff and was, I believe at a gallery or something where the guy was, the artist was showing his artwork. And I think Ron talked to him and said, hey, I would love to use this one. And he said, look, that one's taken. And so Ron talked to him and he said, look, I'll do something from scratch for you. I'll do original art for you. And I apologize if I got the story wrong, but that's my understanding. And that
don't worry, man. It's a cool artwork. It looks like a tattoo sleeve.
No, and it's just beautiful because it really tells the story of the transition and the skull, and it's really all about rebirth. You can see that there's obviously it's just I don't really have to hopefully explain it. You can see it and feel it. You know.
No, it's pretty cool artwork, and yeah, I think people can relate to it, and it's like a rebirth of like a new version of the band, but a different band because you gave it a new name, which is sometimes respectful. There's other bands who I don't want to mention the band because, but yeah, I'll mention it offline. So yeah, you know, it's a great album, and you guys have some shows actually in September. You have the 12th, you're gonna be in Desert Fest, New York City, which is a day before the release. Then you're going to play in Massachusetts for the Widowmaker, the 14th. So you have 4 shows at least planned. One in another one in North Carolina, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, in our hometown, which is cool for me and one of the guitar players. So yeah.
Yeah, and on this album you have guest musicians. You know it's almost like a super group. So the album is gonna be out. You have the purple black splatter vinyl. And it's gonna be I'm gonna put the location for people who want to buy the physical things. Are you Carl? Are you into buying the vinyl, the physical stuff nowadays?
I am way into vinyl. In fact, I am the vinyl, the record, the album keeper of my family. So I was very lucky to have a family that always had a great stereo system. We lived in Hong Kong in the 70s. My father, one of his first purchases in 1971 in a British colony, when things were dirt cheap, was getting this amazing sound system, and I still have most of it.
And because right now it's not dirt cheap.
I have all the vinyl. I have all the vinyl from the 60s and the 70s in the family, going even older. I have it all. So I've always been a vinyl guy. Never got rid of it. I was just like, I can't, and in my start too, the old days when we started with the punk days, hardcore punk days, we were putting out 7 inches. That was what we did in the early 80s.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So I have you know, so much of that stuff and so many of those bands, and just across all the genres, from weird big band stuff from my parents and grandparents to, you know, and then also my wife, I have a lot of really, really old records that she got a hold of from her family, or Victrola, with a Victrola, really, literally,
Oh,
really old stuff, you know, like, so we have a ton of that as well, including those players. And I'm slightly obsessed with it, but so
yeah.
it's so great.
What's like your most prized vinyl that you have?
Wow, that's a tough one. I have, wow, that's a tough one. That's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer, because they're all my children. Yeah.
They're
But
all your children.
yeah, you know, I have some like really rare, like original pressing, like Sex Pistols stuff. You
No,
know,
that's awesome. Yeah.
like you know, an old punk stuff, really rare original pressing stuff, that because I was obsessed at that time in that scene, you know.
No, awesome
So,
to have
but a lot
like
of
that.
some of the older stuff's not in perfect condition, but it's in good condition, you know.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not, and right now vinyl is so it's gotten very expensive, and now they put it with all the colors and stuff. I started my collection more in 2020, and I started like buying a lot of 90s music that I like. But I inherited some my grandfather. I inherited some classical music that my grandfather had in vinyl.
Oh yeah.
Uh, he loved a lot of about like things with the Spanish guitar. So I inherited some stuff, and I inherited stuff from my mom. Like I have like a Michael Jackson Thriller, like from the year it came out. So
Oh
that
yeah.
one, I'm like, yeah, I should keep that one because that one might be important. So yeah, it's awesome that you're into vinyl and that this album can get pressed in vinyl and people can listen to it. So yeah, Carl, you know, it's been awesome chatting with you. And plus, you know, the Legions of Doom. I would like if you liked what the Skull did, you will enjoy this band.
Man, I hope so. We're proud of it, and I know I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that today, the first single, mine came out
Oh, there's
recently,
another single that came out. Yes, what's the
today,
single
and
that came
we have
out
to
today?
say, "Voice of Reason" with Scott Reagers singing came out today. So
Yeah,
I have to promote that, because that is an awesome song with the
It-
almighty Scott Reagers of Saint Vitus,
yeah. And on that
kicking
one,
ass.
you're paying homage to someone else who passed away. I think like a bass player, correct?
Yes, there's a lot of friends that have passed. So
Yeah.
yes, so yeah.
It's very sad, you know, like when you think about it, like our age, like I had a like I had a good friend that passed away like young, like in the 30s, and when she passed away, it was like weird because like it was like the like a like a friend that passed away like suddenly. So yeah, it's something that obviously the years that we've had everyone has experienced some loss in some way or form.
Oh, yeah.
But at least out of that tragedy, you have this art and like this blessing that he left, uh, music that you guys could use and turn it into this album. So always great that you could do that. So Carl, before you know, I let you go. What would you say to maybe people that haven't heard the band and like what can you know like how would you tell them like hey like you should listen to Legions of Doom because
Well, because it's a true celebration of the past, but it's also a transition to the future.
yeah.
And I think it's an honest effort. It's heartfelt. It's passionate, and I think you can sense that. I think you can look at that album cover and instantly be drawn in. And I think the words, the riffs, the melodies, just there's a lot of soul and heart in it. And we mean it, you know. And if you don't get it, that's fine. But we mean it, and I think you'll understand inherently, you know, once you put it down and hit play, you know, whether it's digital or CD or vinyl, whatever it is, as long as you're giving it a chance, because we feel really strongly about it. And, you know, we're just grateful that people care and are respectful of the whole thing. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And Brian Adams, if you're watching, like,
I
Carl,
apologize
the
to
band can
everybody in the
open for
band
you.
for that story, man.
That story, that story is legendary. It's great to find out stories about that. So, Couchers, the new album by Legions of Doom out September the 13th. There's already 2 singles that you can stream and listen to. And if you like Doom, heavy metal Doom, like Candlemass, all those bands that we mentioned, and obviously the Skull, you will dig Legions of Doom. So
Awesome, man.
again, Carl, I want to thank you for joining
Thank
me
you.
from North Carolina here to Puerto Rico to talk music. It's been fun. So until next time, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank
Awesome,
you
man.
and
Thank
good
you.
night.